it's Christine with Moonshine Safari and
Anthony from Moonshine Safari.
Ooh, we are up to chapter 9 in the book Outlander. First book of the whole series from Diana Gabaldon. I don't know how to say her last name. Terrible with that, but that's who the author is. As a reminder, we have spoilers for both the books and the shows, so if you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen, but you do want to listen because it's good, and you want to check out moonshinesafari.com. So as a reminder, chapter 8 ended after the conversation with Alec, the Master of Horse, about not teasing Jamie about his flirting with Lyra. So that was the end of that chapter. Chapter 9 is now the gathering.
Not whores.
Horse.
Master of Horse.
Horse. Can't do Scottish. People are going to make fun of me.
Yeah.
Horse, not whores.
You said it too fast. It sounded like whores.
Whores will come up later,
right?
But they're not.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Claire directly.
Okay, chapter 9 is now the gathering. So up until now, Claire is now sort of getting a routine going at the castle. She sees people for her medical needs, and then when she's not doing medical stuff, she's helping in the gardens, because the castle is just this massive operation that people are always having to work to keep everybody fed and everything like that. So she helps in the gardens, and part of that actually supplies her surgery with medicinal herbs that she uses. At night, there's usually some entertainment in the hall, and she's starting to get friendly with some of the women in the castle. At first, they seem to be really curious about her in general, and then when they figure out that she's really not going to be answering their questions, they start asking her some more medical stuff. But she's getting friendly with people, and they're getting to recognize her, and they're getting a little less sketchy around. One day, she's asked if she wants to go outside the castle grounds in order to pick fruit, and she's thrilled just because it's nice to kind of get outside of these walls. They're chatting, and she asks how many people might be coming for the gathering. Apparently, the last event that was a gathering like this was many, many years ago when Colum's father had died and Colum was made laird. It's been a long time since they've done this, and it costs people money, and some people, if they're really important, get to stay in the castle. Other people get to pitch tents and stuff outside. There are tinkers or salespeople or whatever they're called, trying to sell stuff and make stuff, and it's just this massive, it's like the Super Bowl, the gathering.
Really more like the Renaissance.
Yes, much
more like that.
That's more like
not like Super Bowl.
Super Highland Bowl.
We'll do the halftime show.
Well, I don't know, Claire could drink a little bit and maybe
Can you sing those songs that she sang? Gather them up.
Oogie woogie boo, right, exactly.
Yeah, that one.
Claire's idea is that this gathering is going to be happening, that all these people are going to be there. She can use this huge event and she can escape. She's got a whole plan. There's going to be so many people and so many horses, and while she's out picking fruit, going over all these ideas and kind of getting her thoughts in a row, she meets a woman. In the show, she's met this woman already in episode 2, but in the books, she doesn't meet Galus Duncan until chapter 9. Just as a reminder, I kind of did mention this when we covered the episode, but Galus Duncan was actually a historical figure. She lived before this time, but she was burned at the stake for being a witch. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit. She was apparently burned in the 16th century. Galus Duncan strikes up a conversation about some of the herbs and things that are growing, what they can do and what their purpose is, and she obviously knows quite a bit about the herbs, which is nice. Claire enjoys that. And she's kind of have a clever sense of humor. She doesn't seem so demure as some of the women, and Claire kind of is enjoying that. Be important also later. She explains that Claire tries to introduce herself, and she explains that she knows who Claire is, because everyone's been talking about her anyway. She explains to Claire that some of the girls in the village say I'm a witch. She kind of makes fun of that, but that's also kind of important as well. It will be, at least, spoiler. But they come to see her if they want to rid themselves of a husband, sometimes an unwanted child, so she helps with certain herbs to try to facilitate abortions. She said that there are several of the girls that wouldn't mind a love potion for Jamie, because obviously Jamie, even though he doesn't have any money at this point, and he's kind of supposedly theoretically wanted by law enforcement, that's not a good word to say, by the armies, whatever, by the crown, I guess, the girls still like it. She asks Claire if Jamie belongs to her. Claire, of course, says, and does not say Frank who. Galus says that she didn't marry for love. She married for stability. She makes it clear that she really doesn't really care much about her husband, other than she has a nice house. She said, as far as the way he looks, she doesn't really notice too much, but he provides for her financially, and that's all she was really looking for, and that's what it really comes down to. She also makes the comment that he has some stomach troubles. Keep in mind, Galus knows her herbs. She offers to show Claire some of the areas where the good plants grow, and they chat. She talks a little bit about the castle gossip. She even talks about a little bit who Hamish's father might be. Galus makes a comment that some people say it's Jamie, which doesn't really make sense because I guess he would have had to father that child when he was there the last time in the castle, because he hasn't been there that long this time, so kind of interesting. As she's finishing up, she meets the girl she was originally chatting with in the girls got really worried. She's like, I couldn't find you. I couldn't find you. Well, that's because Colin is making sure that people are keeping their eyes on Claire, which Claire had already known, but the girl feels a little bit embarrassed, but somebody's always watching, so they don't like for Claire to get too far away. The next day, Claire doesn't go out to the orchards because she's dealing with badly prepared beef. It's made a lot of people in the castle sick, and so a lot of food poisoning going on, so she's been handling that. She goes and tells the people who are preparing the beef how they're doing it wrong, because that's why people are getting sick. And Dougal actually finds her and asks, is she going to take over the meat production as well? And he's going down to the village and wants to know if she wants to come because maybe she could spend some time with Galus. And Claire's thrilled, gets her out of the castle again. She loves it. Dougal actually takes her down to Galus's house. They're preparing a bunch of herbs. I mean, Galus is set up for the herbs. She's got tables and it's very airy where the herbs are. She's got it all worked out. She handles it really well. And Claire's having a good time. And while
I think she also sells essential oils.
Probably does. She probably does. She probably does. It's probably a multi-level marketing ploy. Anyway,
like everything.
I like essential oils, but so Claire's enjoying the afternoon, and she hears a disturbance outside and notices a somewhat foreboding priest, and they have a little boy. And Claire's asking Galus what's happening, and Galus is like, "Oh, he's probably been accused of thievery." Claire's like, "Well, what's going to happen to him?" Because keep in mind, Claire is from 1945, and some of the punishments. I mean, I hate to use the term because it's sort of cliche, but some of the punishments from back then are sort of medieval, and she's afraid that something bad's going to happen to him. And Galus is not too worried about it. She says, well, worst case scenario is he might lose a hand or something, which sounds really bad to me.
No, that's bad.
That's bad.
Probably die of infection.
Well, yeah, and then even if you don't, now you don't have a hand for forever, okay? It's kind of a big deal. I don't know.
That's your Deadpool and you just grow up at it.
And they're hungry. But anyway.
You eat their hand.
Yes. Galus's husband is sort of the judge that'll handle this. It's like the justice of the peace. I think they call him the Fisker or something. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So he gets to decide. So Claire says, well, can't you help him? Galus is like, hadn't really thought of it, but okay, fine. So she goes to help, but Galus tells her to not expect too much because the priest is involved, and that guy always wants the worst kind of punishments available because he's that kind of guy. And so Galus goes to help, and she basically comes back at some point. Claire's, just starts to go on with the business of the herbs, and Claire goes, well, wait, what happened with the boy? And Galus starts laughing and, finally just accepts, and she says, well, you should have seen me. I played it really well. I was so sweet to him. I said, what if we had had a child? Would you have wanted him to lose a hand or been maimed because he stole some bread because he was hungry? And she put on a good show. Apparently, the boy is going to get away with an hour in the pillory, his ear nailed.
Wow.
And so Claire goes, wait, what? So apparently they actually put a nail through the little boy's ear up into the wood. Ay. Oh.
Well, then tell him what you have to do.
Yeah, so later on, she can't figure out why the little boy hasn't left yet, and Jamie actually shows up to bring her back to the castle. Claire goes, well, isn't his hour up yet? And Jamie's like, yeah, it's up. He goes, but he's got to rip the nail out of his ear, rip his ear off the nail.
Yeah, he's got to pull his ear off the nail.
However you want to say it, that's the only way he's getting out is once he takes himself out. And Jamie goes, well, he'll work his way up to it. He'll get there in a minute. It'll be soon. And so Claire's like, don't you maybe want to help him? And so Jamie's like, oh, all right, woman.
Yeah. Okay.
So they go down to where the boy is being held, and Jamie walks up to him acting like he's just trying to give him some good advice. And Claire looks at his ear and pretends to faint. So in all this hubbub, Jamie is able to pull the nail out of the block of wood that it's in, and the boy's gone. And so the friendship kind of deepens a little bit because of this little thing they had going with the little boy, poor little boy. They're able to get him out, and everything's good, and so they go back to the castle. Really, the chapter ends when they get back to the castle after they've had this little adventure. And the biggest thing it shows is Claire, even though in the books she's much more quiet about protesting in front of people about their punishments and stuff, she's still got very modern sensibilities as far as what the punishments should be. In 1945, they would not have cut off a boy's hand in England anyway, and in the United States for somebody stealing a loaf of bread. But it's really hard for her to stomach the idea that they could do that at the time for that little boy. So she does try to help him. She also enlists Jamie, so their friendship gets a little bit deeper there, and that's kind of where anyways, did I miss anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, next time we are on to chapter 10, and thanks everyone.
All right, go to moonshinesafari.com and share and tell all your friends about it.
Subscribe.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Please, it helps.
Thanks.
The algorithm and all that.
All
jazz.
of that.
Thanks.
All right, thanks. Bye.